Hi, welcome. Today I'm sharing with you a little project I made for the Fancy Friday blog hop this month. It's a colour challenge that we were given with the Night of Navy, the Emerald and the Soft Blue, and I've put them all together in this little card featuring stamps and imagery from the Paisleys and Posies stamp set and the matching dies that went with that. So in my initial sample I've pulled out and used this beautiful paper from the Naturally Eclectic Designer Series paper pack. Because I used this card in class, I didn't actually have any of this particular pattern left, but I've done what I normally do and rummaged through my stash and found a patterned substitute that it's going to look just as beautiful. Now to embellish, I have stamped this little image here in smoky slate on white, and I'm going to attach that to the top of the card there. Next I'm going to add some of these die cuts from the Paisley's framelit. So I've gone with Night of Navy in this flower here, and for the leaf I went with the Emerald Envy. Using my fine tip glue pen to stick these little embellishments down. Once those three embellishments are layered in place, then I added some ribbon. This is the Night of Navy seam binding ribbon. It's not currently available in the current catalogue, but there was a substitute, a very similar width Night of Navy, very similar fabric, but I think it's a little bit scrunched, which would only add to the texture and detail in the project. I'm going to trim that. I want a little bit sitting out of the card, but not too far. So I'm going to trim that one just again about there. And I'm using strips of tear and tape adhesive for the embellishment. So for the sentiment panel I've got the Thankful, Grateful, Blessed stamp. Because it's photopolymer, I want to stamp that with my Memento ink. I'm going to get that right in the center there. I'm going to set that stamp set aside to clean. And that can come up on dimensionals here over that ribbon. When I cut my dimensionals for this one, I'm going to stick them to the edges. And by edges I mean just up around here, so that's going to kind of sit above that ribbon through the middle. And I'm doing that so that the ribbon in the center doesn't add any unnecessary bulk and make that look wavy. Now I've got the last piece of the puzzle here, which is this lovely watercoloured Paisley. So I've got an offcut strip here of shimmery white cardstock, and for this one, because it's a photopolymer stamp set, I'm not using Memento because I'm going to colour. I am using the archival black. Now this is going to stain my photopolymer, but it's still better for your photopolymer than stays on. Didn't quite get the impression I was hoping for, so I'm flipping it over and doing it again. So it's nice, dark and vibrant, and I'm going to heat set that because it can be a little bit wet and I don't want any grey running into my painting. I've got an aqua painter here, and I'm going to go with my softest colour first, which is Pool Party. Now to get ink onto your ink pad to use as a palette, just give it a squeeze like that. I'm picking up the colour and I'm going to pop it in this top bit here. And then I'm popping it in this little arch. The next tone I'm going to add is the Emerald Envy. I'm popping that here just in these little petal shapes. And then I'm going to put that same emerald at the top of these petals here. I want to keep that nice and wet because I'm going to add the navy in, and I want that to blend into that green. It's really defined right now, and I just want to blend that through the middle there. There we go. So that it's got a little bit more of a fade in look. Just taking the colour off so that when I blend it through the middle, yeah, it's nice and faded. Just a touch more green here through this little eye. So now I'm going to die cut that out. Now when I'm running that through the big shot, I want to stick a little bit of washi tape over the top. This one's quite unforgiving. If the die moves or slips, I'm going to lose all that hard work I just put into painting it. So I'm using a little bit of washi, and I'm going to put that on there and run it through the big shot. So the washi has held that die in place, and I'm just going to pop that off. And there we have it, our little embellishment. And I want that to sit up on dimensionals. Just come a little bit far with my sentiment, I think. So it's just sitting on a couple of dimensionals. It shouldn't be too hard to swing it over a little. Now I've moved it across because I didn't want it bumping into my thankful. I happened to catch a leaf from there. So that's going to sit on there, and I'm going to do the little trick I've done before. I'm going to pop a dimensional on here, and I'm going to use that dimensional to hold a couple of loops of twine. So this time I am going to make these loops in an 8. Helps if I take the backing off that for that to stick. Alright. I'll go the other way. So I'm just going to play around and adjust those loops a little bit. And position that a little higher. And close. Now, of course, that looks beautiful just as it is, but what I wanted to do was show you just a little bit of a step it up, and that's to turn this bottom blessed into silver. And it's just a simple stamping again on a scrap of white paper in Versamark. So I've got the same sentiment. I've got my Versamark. I'm going to apply silver powder. It was a Fancy Friday card, right? So we need to have something fancy on there, and there's nothing fancier than this fabulous heat embossing and lovely metallics. And I'm simply trimming that. And sticking it on. Actually, I might give it a little closer fussy cut than that. A little bit of regular tape. Make sure we get it right over that word. And we've got our fancy two-toned sentiment with that touch of metallic carried across into the wording. There we go. I hope you enjoyed that little Fancy Friday project.